Right now, our country should be celebrating veterans and first responders all over the world. As Veteran Day approaches, it is a time to really meet the people that helped our country. Today, we're with Captain John Woodall, who's also known as Woody, who has started a camp for veterans, Camp for Heroes. It's also for first responders and policemen. He also gave and was the correspondent for North Carolina during 9/11. I'm going to let him tell you about what he did for this country and for New York City. John, welcome. We are so honored to have you.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Can you tell us what you did as the liaison for North Carolina for the first responders for New York City?
Well, my job, I was appointed by our state fire marshal, Jim Long, to be the liaison to New York. And, a lot of the uh, states were buying fire engines and things because we lost so many on 9/11. But our fire marshal wanted us to do something for the families of the 343 firefighters that died on 9/11. So I went up and I was really proud of the North Carolina firefighters because we had a field to boot campaign and we raised about $7.5 million for the 343 families that lost firefighters on 9/11. Also, there were two firefighters that were retired that worked in the World Trade Centers, and there was a non-line of duty death benefit called the Thomas L. Sasser Fund, and we there was very little money in that fund as well, so we donated 480,000, I believe, to that fund, and also we donated 415 passenger vans to the FDNY Fire Family Transport Foundation because when they found a body in the rubble, they would bring the families in, and they had a lot of guys that were volunteering to bring the families, but they didn't have the transportation. So we donated 415 passenger vans to the FDNY Fire Family Transport Foundation. And as time went on, the president of the Fire Family Transport Foundation, Pat Kincannon, came to North Carolina and he visited. And I showed him around our fire department, and there was a 1950 Mack fire engine there. And he wanted something like that to commemorate 9/11 and the 343 firefighters that died on 9/11. So I found one in Wade, North Carolina, and Jackie Lee, the chief of the Wade Fire Department, I asked him. He refurbished old fire engines. That was his hobby, and he had a 1951 Mack fire engine. And I told him what we wanted to do with it. And I think he had about $10,000 in it. But anyway, he sold it to us for $5,000. We brought it up. We had volunteers to bring it up to the Bronx to the Mack the Mack dealership there, and they started refurbishing engine 343. And today, it is engine 343 in Manhattan. They use it for parades. They took the hose bed out of it. They put seats in it. They put all the names of the 343 firefighters around on it, and it's just a wonderful thing. And it's been a mission, a great mission of ours. I was the liaison, but I had the backing of all the firefighters in North Carolina, and it was amazing. And I was just up there last week, and that was my 223rd trip to New York since 9/11.
Wow. You run a camp for heroes. Can you tell us a little bit about this camp?
Yes, years ago, we started going to Walter Reed because right after the war started, we had a lot of catastrophic injuries there, and meeting about
Can I stop you for a minute? Can you tell people what Walter Reed is?
Walter Reed is the Army, actually now Army Navy Medical Center. When we have a lot of catastrophic injuries, this is where they go for amputees, head injuries. When it's really catastrophic, this is where they go. It's a military base. It's a full military base, but there's a large hospital there. And so we started going there and just about every warrior that was an amputee or had been hurt since 9/11, I know them. I've met them. I've spent a lot of time up there. We started out around Christmas. We wanted to do something for them at Christmas time in 2002. So we went at Christmas, and there was a little girl there. They were her little kids in the Malone house at Walter Reed. They were making declarations with glue guns and stuff, And I'm a singer. I was singing. I do a Elvis tribute show, and so I got all set up and started singing Christmas music. And the little girl come hug me around the leg when I finished, and she said, "Mr. Elvis, can you sing me some more songs?" And I said, "Sure, I can." And so I sang a few more, and she brought a little snowman that she had made, and she said, "See what I made?" And I said, "Well, that's beautiful. Are you gonna put it on your Christmas tree?" And she said, "No, I made this just for you. Thank you for singing." And of course, I lost it. I started crying, and I was upset. And I looked around, and all the guys behind me, they were tearing up. It was just a beautiful moment. And the commander of Walter Reed and his secretary were coming in, and they said, "Boy, we wish we could do more for these warriors." And I said, "Well, what do they need?" And they started out. They wanted Bibles and chocolate and Pampers and shaving cream and shavers and just a whole list of things. And I said, "Well, consider it done." So I started making like 3 trips a week. I'd get a trailer load of stuff and take it up. We'd set up a store in the Malone house, and they would come by and just pick out what they needed. And of course, sometimes we'd have too many Pampers or not enough shavers or whatever. And I always say that we realized there was a Walmart close by and a Target, and so we just started buying gift cards so they could get what they needed. And we're known for the bravest, not the brightest. So that's how we kind of looked at it. But anyway, we just got a good rapport. And through all this, I met my dear friend Gary Sinise. He played Lieutenant Dan in Forrest Gump, and we've been friends for about 21 years. And they were singing. He was singing his band, the Lieutenant Dan band, was playing in South Carolina, and they. So I actually opened for him, and my son opened for him 7 times in down there. But while we were down there, a week before the band played, we had like 50 wounded veterans at a place called Palm Key, South Carolina, and they would sit around the fire pits, and they would talk about what happened in the war, and they were with other warriors. When they come talk to their families don't really understand because they weren't there, but they're with other warriors now, and the warriors understand. So they were able to really lift that burden off of them. They would cuss each other and hug each other and embrace each other, and then hug each other again, and then cuss each other again. And by the end of the night, you could just see the healing starting to take place. They needed to purge this, and I started praying about it. And I said, God, we need something like this year round, something that these guys can do year round. And so I started praying about it, and there's a lot of things that happened to make it happen. But Bill O'Reilly was putting on a fundraiser for the Gary Sinise Foundation, and I had done a painting. I'm an artist, so I did a painting of the Lieutenant Dan band, and I asked him could I auction it off at this event. They didn't really want me to, but since I was the MC, I auctioned it off anyway. But that painting that night brought $100,000, and all that money. I've never taken a dime of the money for myself. All that money went to help the wounded veterans, and so the man that bought the painting called me about 6 months later. He said, "I've been following you guys, what you do. I want to get involved." And I told him, I've got a dream of building a camp for these guys because they can come 365 days a year to this camp, and they can start their healing process. And we do PTSD clinics. They can just come and just decompress. They can sit around the fire pit with other warriors of like mind and do the same thing. So it was born from that. And so we started building Camp for Heroes about 5.5 years ago. And we've got a horse paddock for horse therapy. We've got 3 log cabins, a barracks. We've got a lodge here. We've got a 15-acre lake full of fish, and it's just a really great place of peace and tranquility. And one of the rules I have here is when you come on board here, we go with love, honor, and respect.
Mm.
and that's what we stand for, and that's what we want here. And so we've had about 3,500 veterans come through the camp since I've been here, and we're having Hero Fest, this coming weekend on Veterans Day. But it's
Actually, let's stop and talk about Hero Fest.
okay. Well, Hero Fest is something that we try to highlight guys that have really come a long ways, and it's also a fundraiser for the camp. But also the big thing is the guys that do artwork, they can come show their artwork. The guys that do things have been through the camp, and we've got a chef that he's not going to be able to come this year because he's going through some custody things with his daughter. He's getting custody of his daughter, but anyway. The guys that when they come back and they'll tell you, look, if it weren't for you in the camp, I wouldn't be here today. And thank you, and those kind of things. I don't care if it was just one guy, but we've had several. But it makes it worthwhile. It makes it all worthwhile. And
I
so
want to stop you again because you told me the statistics of veterans and firefighters that commit suicide. Can you tell our audience? They need to know.
they say an average of 22 a day. That's what they use as a catalyst. I think it's more with the veterans because there's our states that don't even turn their statistics in. I think Texas is one of them. I'm not sure, but and firefighters, it's averaged 11 a day,
Wow.
uh, and it's just hard. So
That's catastrophic.
yes, and see what we do now. We're not a drug or alcohol rehab center, but when we do try to place them in places like that. But when they go through the training program, they kind of release them, and they kind of, well, what do I do from here? Well, this is what they do from here. We try to develop them, get them where they can, start a job, or if they've got the biggest thing I think in the healing of PTSD, which I deal with it every day myself, from being in an explosion back in 2004 and what I went through after that. So one of the things that we do is find out what gifts this person has. It may be a gift of gab. He may be could give speeches about where he came from and what he did, or he may be a good artist, or he may be a welder, or he may be a construction guy. So we say, listen, if you're good at construction, how about let's develop in that a little bit, and we can start building homes or remodeling homes for wounded veterans or other guys that you were in service with, and they love it because conquering PTSD is one of the biggest things I had, and I know other guys have that have talked to me, is their feeling of worthlessness. They feel like they've got nothing else to give. They're done, and therefore, as they move forward, they like, well, I've got nothing to give, so I'm done. So a lot of them commit suicide. So what we're trying to do is look, you've got something to give, let's give it. And when they see that they've got a worth and something they can give back to other veterans or other people, anybody in need, it makes them feel like, hey, I do have something to give. That's what happened to me. That's why I built this camp. I've got something to give, and I want to give back this camp to warriors that's gone through the things I've gone through, and to help them get settled and get back to life before the war.
Um, in this camp, am I not correct that you're also trying to start a model town that will be for veterans and firefighters and first responders?
Well, if we
Because I
can,
think that's amazing.
we're trying to, if we can, purchase some land we're actually adjoining this property. It's on this side of the road. It's going to be about healing the warriors. On the other side of the road, yeah, we would like to build a little town to where we could, and we've got about close to 100 acres over there that we could do it on. But we just got to get the funding to buy it and start the process.
How can people donate to Camp for Heroes?
Well, they can go to the number 4heroes.org, and we have a donate button. Or we have our our address is Camp for Heroes, P.O. Box 400, Fairmont, North Carolina,
What?
28340.
Now, anybody from all over the world can come here, right?
Absolutely.
And it's free to them, correct?
Absolutely.
I think people don't understand what that is and how that can give back.
Well, I'm going to tell you the blessing that I've had. I've had, God sent some great people in my life when I had this dream, and I just shared this dream with a few people at the time, and the money came. So the property that we're on uh, is uh, is 300 acres. We don't owe a dime on it. We don't owe a dime on anything on this property. And when I'm building something, if I don't run out of money, that's when I stop. When I get some more money, then I finish the project. But we try to do that because that way, I mean, of course, we have water bills and light bills and, liability insurance bills and things like that we have to pay. But we keep the cost down as low as we can. So when people come in, uh, we can offer it to them for at no cost because, they've struggled enough. They don't need to struggle to come here.
I think that's amazing because very few times in this life is anything for free.
Exactly. Well, these guys have fought for our freedom, and,
Absolutely.
and freedom is not free.
No.
But this, when they come here, is saying thank you for fighting for my country, and I want to give this to you and show you how we love you and we appreciate you and what you've done to keep us free.
Are there things that Camp for Heroes needs that companies can get involved? Like, what do you need that companies can get involved?
Well, anything to do with um, building supplies, or we can have we have about 75 acres to mow and cut, so we are all time in need of mowers and cutters and weed eaters and things like that. I'd like to get us. I don't know if you know what it is, but people out there know what a skid steer is. A skid steer is like a machine that you ride on, and it's got a grinder on the front, so it helps you make paths through the woods and stuff.
Mm.
Because these guys like to go in through the woods, but a lot of the guys have to take their track chairs or their mobility devices that they can travel through the woods, and so we try to make it wide enough to where it can accommodate any warrior that comes in here, and all everything we've got here is handicap accessible.
Fabulous. What about manpower? Do you need manpower to help you
Yeah,
fix
from time to
this?
time we do, especially in the summer, spring and summer, and early fall months. This time of year, I mean, we need help, but just this is the time of year we start cutting the paths and stuff through the woods because we don't have to cut so much grass and stuff.
Right.
But we have little building projects and things that we're trying to get done. I'm building a 9/11 memorial here. It's actually beautiful. It's going to be really nice, and we're going to do a war memorial right behind the 9/11 memorial. And I did that. Uh, I've got uh, I've got a bell tower I'm building now to where every time we induct someone that has died for our country or died in the line of duty, we induct them into our war memorial or our firefighter memorial. We have a bell we ring 5 times to induct them into it, and so it's gonna be a beautiful garden, but we're raising money for the garden now, and but it's we've already started. And if people can go online and they can see where we've gotten so far with it, if they go to campforheroes.org.
Um, in the course of this, I was with you at Operation Warrior Shield, the
Yeah.
gala.
Hmm.
Um, you had a sword. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's the Spartan sword, and we started using it a long time ago. This Spartan sword was made out of World Trade Center steel. The Spartans were great warriors, and when warriors go into the military, they do an oath that they're going to protect our country, and that oath is very important to them. So we found that when these guys take an oath and they swear to something, it means something to them.
Mm.
So we took the Spartan sword, made out of World Trade Center steel. We placed it on a flag, and one guy created the Spartan Pledge. And the Spartan Pledge basically says, "I will not harm myself without talking to a battle buddy. My my mission is to create a mission in life to help other warfighter families and the warfighters and their families." So, and using this tool, I think we've saved a lot of lives because these guys swore on that. But then it's people like this camp and other camps similar to this, that that's when we take on the responsibility. All right, they've taken the pledge. Now let's take it to the next step and show them how they can give back to other warriors and work on getting putting the PTSD behind them.
What is something that average people can do every day for their veterans and for their war heroes and for their first responders and their police?
I think that the first thing is to be aware and know, there, you can't just, everybody goes on their day-to-day lives and they do their day-to-day activities, but there's warriors out there, many warriors that are walking around, single amputees, double amputees, brain injuries, quadruple amputees, triple amputees. They're there, and you don't have to look far to find them because there's a lot of them. And just keep them in your thoughts and prayers. But at the same time, when you run across anybody, I'm not in competition here at the camp with anybody. If there's another group that does good things for warriors and helps them, by all means support them, because that's what we need out here in what we do. They need to support our veterans and firefighters. Our firefighters and police officers, our first line of defense at home. They need our help. And I'll give kudos to guys like Bill O'Reilly that has really helped us a lot. He's helped raise a lot of money for these guys with the Track Chair Initiative, and I was lucky enough to walk him through Walter Reed and get him started on it. But he's raised a lot of money to help these warriors be a little more mobile and go anywhere they want to go. So things like that is so important, even to an average American. You don't have to be a Bill O'Reilly or Gary Sinise or whoever. If you can just give someone $10 a month, or if you want to come in and say, well, I live close by you, let me come in there and help you cut grass one day, or let me donate a weed eater to you, or let me, anything like that is helpful. Just getting involved is helpful. And so anybody that does that, we want to say thank you. But to me, the best thing they can do for our country and our warriors that have been out there is pray for them.
Mm. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you would like our readership to know?
Well, that's it. I mean, of course, the story is a lot bigger, but
Of course, the story's bigger.
I'd have to write a book. But there's a lot. If anybody that wants to know about it, I'm glad to tell every little detail about it. There's so many people involved. I mean, like there's right there in New Jersey, in Fair Lawn, New Jersey. There's a group called Adopt a Soldier Platoon, and they're very key. They helped us build the first few cabins. They've helped us build to get started. They helped us raise money to do just about everything we've done here. So God bless them and all they've done. And I just like to give a shout out to Adopt a Soldier Platoon.
I love that. Veterans Day is coming up, and we all need to do something to show our appreciation. Captain John Woodall, I'm so grateful that you were here with us today.
Thank
And
you.
you can go to Camp for Heroes, number 4.org to see more and to learn more about this amazing organization. Thank you.
Thank you.